In today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at giant lizards of the Mesozoic. The Mesozoic was a time when animals got to be big. It was also a time when lizards thrived. These two things combined led to some absolutely massive lizards running around the planet. We're gonna take a look at some of the largest, but we're also gonna talk about what made them so large and how they survived in their environment. So let's get into it. The first animal we will look at is one that I have talked about a lot before. This is an animal that needs no introduction. It is, of course, the mighty Tyrannosaurus Rex. Wait, what? No, this is not a dinosaur. Even though it's a theropod, which is the group dinosaurs belong to, technically it is a lizard. You know what else is a lizard? Birds. Yes, birds are descendants of theropod dinosaurs like the T-Rex. The fact that they are closely related to each other means that the T-Rex can give us clues as to what kind of lifestyle mosasaurs lived. Even though the T-Rex was only around 40 feet long and weighed just over 7 tons, it was still one of the apex predators of its time. With teeth like this, who wouldn't be scared of these gigantic lizards? Okay, moving on to something a bit more prehistoric. This is the next animal we will be looking at. Archosaurs were a very diverse group. They gave rise to the first dinosaurs, crocodiles, and the ancestors of modern birds. Interestingly enough, all archosaurs are diapsids, meaning they have 2 holes behind each eye socket. The holes allowed for the attachment of strong jaw muscles, leading to powerful bites. This trait is shared with all major groups of reptiles today, including lizards. This is because all modern lizards are also diapsids. Over time, this adaptation has helped lizards become apex predators and survive in every terrestrial ecosystem on Earth. Archosaurs had this adaptation too, except their jaws weren't built for small insects anymore. They could take down much larger prey. One example of this is the giant archosaur from the late Triassic, Prestosuchus. Prestosuchus was a massive archosaur that lived in what is now Argentina during the Neogene Age. It was roughly the size of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Although it was much heavier, it was estimated that Prestosuchus weighed between 8.8 and 9.9 tons. There have been some estimates saying it could weigh up to 15 tons, but these are not widely accepted by paleontologists. Its skull alone was almost 6 feet long, and its overall length ranged somewhere between 33 and 39 feet. To put this into perspective, that is about as long as 3 humans stacked on top of each other. This thing had a huge head and a long, powerful tail. It was covered in osteoderms or bony armor plates. This would have protected it from the bites of other large predators. Its legs were also very sturdy, allowing it to support its immense weight and deliver crushing blows to its prey. It had a massive bite force of 1,500 pounds per square inch. That is even stronger than the T-Rex's bite force. It had more teeth than any other land animal, with 100 serrated teeth in total. The sheer number of teeth is actually really impressive, considering that most animals only have 32 teeth. If this didn't seem intimidating enough, it also had claws that were longer than a grizzly bear's claws. This would have allowed it to slash at its prey, and possibly even climb. Yeah, you heard me right. This massive meat eater was likely able to climb. It is unlikely that it spent a lot of time doing this, but it seems that it did occasionally. Just imagine seeing this thing climbing towards you. It would be terrifying. So how exactly did it become so big? Well, part of the reason it became so large was probably due to being in the right place at the right time. During the Neogene Age, there was a mass extinction, which wiped out many large archosaurs. This included the last of the phytosaurs, which were a group of large aquatic archosaurs. This left a gap in the food chain and allowed Prestosuchus to thrive. Another reason why it grew so large was because of its hunting style. It hunted in groups, kind of like wolves. By working together, it could bring down much larger prey than if it tried to hunt alone. Lastly, it was likely able to grow so large because of the food available in South America during the Triassic. There was an abundance of herbivorous dicynodonts which would have provided ample food sources for this carnivore. Okay, on to our next animal. One thing you may have noticed about the previous animal is that it was from South America. This is a trend that will continue on in this list, because South America was home to some truly ginormous lizards. This next one is a prime example of that. This is the skull of a recently discovered relative of the tuatara. This particular species is called Ardontosaurus. It was discovered in Patagonia, Chile in 2020. It was named after the legendary Greek monster Typhon, who was a huge monster slain by Zeus. The name is fitting because this animal was truly a giant. It measured 11 feet long and weighed over 1 ton. That is about twice the size of the largest living tuatara. Its skull alone was 4 feet long, making it one of the largest skulls of any reptile in history. It had a row of sharp teeth along its upper jaw and lower jaw. These would have been used to grab onto prey and slice it to pieces. Its eyes were also very large, which would have helped it see in low light conditions. This was likely an advantage while hunting at night. Oddly enough, it had a hole in the roof of its mouth. Scientists believe this may have been caused by a parasitic infection. Even though this animal was massive, it still had to deal with parasites just like the rest of us. Like Prestosuchus, Ardontosaurus was around during the Triassic period. It lived during the same time as Prestosuchus, but farther south. Since it was so large, it likely wasn't very agile. It may have moved around like a crocodile, lunging at its prey and bringing it down with its teeth. This would have been an effective hunting technique since it would use its momentum to bring down large prey. Unlike Prestosuchus, it was most likely a solitary hunter. The fact that it was so massive meant that it didn't need to work with others to bring down prey. It could easily kill anything it wanted on its own. Not much is known about its life, but scientists hope to learn more in the future. This next animal is another massive lizard from South America. The weird thing about this animal is that it isn't a predator. It's a herbivore. Herbivorous lizards are usually small and specialized. This is because eating plants is not as nutritionally efficient as eating meat. This means that there aren't many large herbivorous lizards, especially compared to carnivorous ones. But this next animal changed that. Meet the herbivorous titan, that is, the Titanoboa. This snake is definitely not a lizard, but I am still going to mention it because it is so crazy. It was a member of the family Boidae, which includes boas and pythons. Like those animals, it was a constrictor. This means that it killed its prey by squeezing it rather than biting it. It is estimated that it could constrict its prey up to 650 psi. That is roughly the pressure needed to crush a car. It is also thought that it could squeeze its prey up to 140 times per minute. That is very fast and would quickly kill its victims. With a body length of 42 feet, it was almost as long as a school bus. The world record for the longest living snake is 25.2 feet. So this thing was even longer than the longest living snake. It weighed approximately 1.25 tons. That is roughly the same weight as a walrus. Imagine this thing coiling itself around you and squeezing you to death. I think that's pretty safe to say that this animal was a super predator. It could take down basically anything it wanted. It was around 60 million years ago, during the Cenozoic Era. This was a time when snakes diversified greatly. There was a mass extinction at the end of the Cretaceous period, which allowed snakes to thrive. Snakes were most likely the apex predators of their time. This was because mammals were still relatively small. This would allow snakes to rule the land until mammals evolved to be larger and took over the apex predator role. And finally, we will look at a lizard that wasn't quite as big as the previous animals, but is still worth mentioning. It is a type of mosasaur. Mosasaurs were marine reptiles that lived during the Cretaceous period. They were mostly apex predators, but there were also herbivores. The one we will be looking at is a carnivore. It was about 50 feet long, which was roughly the size of a sperm whale today. It weighed over 40 tons. This thing had a massive head with a long pointed snout. This would have been perfect for catching fish. It also had flippers instead of limbs. This would have allowed it to swim through the water with ease. It is thought that mosasaurs were warm-blooded, which would have given them an advantage over other marine reptiles. This is because they would have been able to swim faster and dive deeper. They were also very agile and could turn quickly in the water. This would have helped them chase down their prey. Mosasaurus was a global predator, meaning it could be found in oceans around the world. This would have exposed it to different environments and prey animals. This likely led to the evolution of multiple species. One of the most famous species is M. hoffmanni. This species is famous because of a specimen that was found in the Netherlands in 1869. This specimen was nicknamed the Monster of Mosasaurus. It caused quite a stir among the locals. This was because they believed it was the remains of a sea monster. Little did they know that this would become a famous fossil. The Mesozoic Era was a time when giants roamed the earth. From herbivorous titans to sea monsters, there were all sorts of large lizards. These animals evolved to be so big for various reasons. Some of them were in the right place at the right time, while others were simply apex predators. Regardless of how they grew so large, they are still very impressive. Today, lizards come in all shapes and sizes. Some are tiny and colorful, while others are massive and gray. No matter what they look like, they are all fascinating creatures. Lizards are found in almost every terrestrial ecosystem on Earth. They are true survivors. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe. Also, check out my social media if you want to see more from me. Anyways, that's all for now. See you next time.